Welcome, YouTubers. GreatDanePicks.com. MLB 2017 season. We're halfway through. It's the day before the All-Star game, so I just want to start off by plugging the site, which is GreatDanePicks.com. And you'll see a picture of Libby here doing her picks. And these picks have all been available session by session. We're out on session 4. Let me click on that just to show you what a daily looks like. Started at 6:18 and it wrapped up yesterday, 7-9. So wins and losses, mostly losses in this session. I'll get the chart up here in a second. But this is what a day-to-day has been looking like. That's what you get when you get my picks. So let me go to the chart and talk to you about how we've been doing this season. I know I haven't touched base since like the second session. And I've had a pretty crappy picks. Just to look at this chart, if I scroll down the bottom, every vertical line is a week. So basically, we started on April 15th-ish out here. If you look at the second vertical line, and we'll go through mid-September, and then NFL will kick up for me. Regular season, each horizontal line, starting with, I'll move the baseball here. Starting here with this orange line going flat across, that's 20,000. That's my starting bankroll. And each horizontal line is $2,000 in profit or loss, depending if you're above or below that line, or 10% of the original bankroll. So each line is 10%. You'll kind of see this red line go across here, and it's defining the 7 sessions. Each session is roughly 3 weeks. It's 20 games or so. And each session, my goal is this red line to go up by 10% cumulative for the year. And by the time you get out to the end out here, the goal in the 7th session will be to risen 70%. So I made a line out there at 70%. In other words, turning $20,000 into $34,000. So a nice little profit for a summer if it all goes to plan. And I pick well. So I've got 2 schemes out here. They're really the same picks that you saw on the web page. The first one, I'm going to draw the baseball here. It's kind of this light blue. And that is money management wise. It's making all those picks. It includes picking both sides when I have head-to-head games. And you see those. A lot of those have X's when they're head-to-head. And normally I don't bet those in the real world, because you typically will lose some sort of vig when you do that, nonetheless. So the results will be a little higher than this line, but whatever. I don't mind showing a lower line. But you can see it's been pretty atrocious. Let me just go back in time. We started off with a good first day, and then we dropped down. If you look, just follow my cursor now. And then we exploded up, and by the end of the first session, we hit rather well, 59%, so pretty close to what I was looking for the year. Probably if you were playing without the VIG, you'd be closer to 70. Then I had these tremendous losses, and in the second session, just big, like 0-9, 0-11 streaks, just killing my bankroll at a time. So just something you don't think of. I know it's a money line game. It's not a 50-50 game, but at the same time, it's got to be at least a 60-40 game. So to hit, like, you know, go 0-9 or 0-11 or 1-10 is kind of unusual. Just hard to do. It'd be hard to do that on a positive side or a negative side. So we ended the second session way down, and then we made a nice comeback in the third session. Got ourselves above 0. A little bit of profit, per se. And then in this fourth session, again, these just too many have returned. I got a big one right here. I got another big one right here. Whoops. Didn't want to do that. If I back off, that comes all right. Cool. And we're in down. So those are, again, picking every single game that I put out there, and I wouldn't do that in the real world. There's just too many games. So I tend to do a frozen method, and I don't bet both sides again. So it'd be a little higher than this chart shows. This year I also wanted to introduce sort of a different scheme that usually does a little bit worse, but it has a potential for really exploding on you, which is you bet, instead of betting $1,000 a game, you bet 7% of your bankroll per game, and that bankroll will change every day. So you're betting a different amount every day. And that's where I get this light gray line. So again, the light gray line, it came out a little worse. Then it got a little better than the blue line, and you can see it spiked up here in the high, 90-something% at the end of the first session, but then it dropped just as drastically because you're betting more money when you're above the starting bankroll than you are relative to the other scheme. And once it got low, you're not betting enough money here to make it come back as quickly. So that's one of the downfalls of this scheme, and you're way down below 2,000. So again, that's picking both sides of every single game, something I don't recommend doing. But what I'm trying to say is here, these picks have been losers, and I don't know why that happens. Maybe because I'm giving away free. I've had very good results in the other years when I don't give away free picks, but oh well, that happens sometimes. You're not going to be perfect all the time. So let me go over what I actually bet, which is the dark blue line, which correlates with the light blue line, except for I'll freeze it out if I make my 10% goal. So you can see the first session, I got it the first day, really. So it's kind of a boring 3-week. I kind of just froze it out, didn't take any of the losses or wins. As it ended up, I have some regrets because I would have been up a lot higher if I had followed it. And then I went on a loss and cut it off, perhaps a little later than I should, but I hung in there for a little bit, and so I was down. And then I let it roll for most of this third session, and then just a day or two before the third session end, I made my 30% net cumulative. So nice recovery. I was hoping things would be on board there and we'd continue on. Instead, I got this fourth losing session. Down, huge down, big up on that day, and I decided, all right, you know what? Tired of this. So I've had it on freeze for the balance of the period. We'll pick up on the 14th, which is later this week. So I am sitting out at $22,291 or $2,291, or a little over 11% profit for the year on that scheme, that $20,000 that I had out there. So, all right, it's 10%, whatever it is. Again, hopefully this shows some positive trend and somehow I get up in this area. I love that. Make up for some of these two bad sessions I've really had. The other scheme, which I intended because it was a floating 7% bankroll, again, that dark blue was 1,000 a game, frozen where I froze at. There's a purple line in here, which if you look, it's just above the gray, which is, now the purple line is the only one on this chart where I'm only doing single-sided, and I'm doing 7% of the bankroll. And you can see it starts to deviate here in a positive manner. In other words, it's doing better than betting both sides of the game, and it spiked up, which is one of those things you got to do is when it starts going positive, you really got to ride it, because like I said, not on average, but a typical session, it'll do worse than its corresponding other method that I normally do. But every once in a while, you'll hit this really high, and it can go 8, 10, 12 times. It can go crazy, right? So that brings the average up. So on average, it's better, but you have to wait around, sort of like winning the lottery, to get that to spike up. But I did have, once I got into this range right here, I was way over the 70% goal with a couple days left in the first session. I decided then, all right, if it drops back down to 70-ish, I'll freeze for the year, and I'll make 70% over 3 weeks. Not too bad, and be done. Instead, I just let it ride, and it rode out at the end of the first session. I ended up at 103%, or 40,645, or grew 20,000 to 40,645. So I made $20,000 there, and I'm frozen out for the year. So the kind of nice part about that is it would cover no matter what happens on the other 20,000. This dark blue line I have out here, it'll cover that, even if that went to zero or if I played some other scheme. So I'm up 20,000 plus here, and I'm frozen for the year. I'm done. So even though this was it's a kind of a catch-22, even though this was a tremendously losing methodology, it's also a losing methodology that doubled my money. So that's the catch-22 of it, right? I mean, so you are gambling with that method, but I'm trying to introduce some different thought patterns to me and see if I'm kind of more conservative than aggressive like that, playing the positive side of it, because I can figure it's going to eventually come back down. But and I'm up 2,000 here, and we'll see where that goes. Again, even if it went to zero, I made I'll kind of be back to zero. I kind of wasted my time. If this blue line goes to zero, that side of the thing, and I lose my $20,000, I'll net 645 for the year. So it is what it is. But right now I'm up, you know, that plus the 22,000, almost $2,300. So, you know, 23,000 is that right? Whatever it is. So nice little return for having $40,000 out there, and we'll see what happens in the future. Anyways, I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3 more sessions or a whole bunch of time, so we'll just see where it goes. So thanks for listening, and who knows, if you feel lucky, join on. The picks are right out there on the Great Dane picks. We'll be into the 5th and 6th sessions. I need to put a 7th one out there, I think. Yeah, hopefully I can get a decent ROI when I'm giving away free picks. I don't know why that is, why I can't get it done, but I like for once. Not that 52% or 36% were terrible. They just weren't up to my standards where I was hitting 70, 74, doubling 100%. So I mean, yeah, kind of bummed, but at the same time, it's gambling. So welcome to the world, and thanks for your time.